Hi guys, hope you're well, and wanted to create a quick video for you on Bitcoins. I've got a couple of friends and family members who are invested into Bitcoins, and they were asking me questions with regards to whether we can use astrology for trading Bitcoins. And it's one of those fascinating areas where cycles can be applied to assets, even though it is a very young asset. It is one that a lot of astrologers have been working on, and there's some fascinating patterns and cycles that have been identified. So here we go. Let me show you what I've seen so far. Um, Looking at the long-term chart for Bitcoins from 2011 to date, this is a logarithmic chart. You can see that we have a 4-year cycle. It's actually a 42-month cycle that seems to repeat itself, and in each instance, within each cycle, we've seen prices lose 86% of the value from the crest of the cycle down to the trough. I'm measuring cycles from one trough to another. So we're now in 2022, and the yellow line I've drawn within 2022 from Feb to November shows the orb of time in which the next 4-year cycle is actually due. So as you can imagine, we're expecting a big drop. The all-time high we had last year was $69,000. If Bitcoins do indeed lose 86% of their value, they're going to drop to around about 10,000. And that presents a great buying opportunity for long-term investors and even short-term investors that are looking to trade the shorter-term cycles for this asset. Let me look at the past year, review it, and see if there are any interesting things that have come to light. Now, before we start, I think for those who aren't familiar with astrology, Aquarius is a sign of technology and modern advances in technology. The owner of Aquarius, or the ruler of Aquarius, is Uranus, and Uranus is in the sign of Taurus. It ingressed into Taurus in 2018. And if you look at the chart of most cryptocurrencies, especially Bitcoins, you'll see that they really took off from around about that time. 2017 was the all-time high. I think was made around November, December time. So cryptocurrencies have really come into the global market, and they're traded quite widely now. Now, looking at the past year or so, we can see that Jupiter and Saturn formed the Great Conjunction in December 2020. That was a big event because it was on 0 degrees Aquarius. Now, I've said Aquarius relates to technology, and I would say Bitcoins are related to this sign as well. Now, what are those two planets going to do to the price of Bitcoins or cryptocurrencies in general? So Saturn is a planet of restrictions. It's a malefic in traditional astrology, so it has a depressing effect on the price of an asset that sign relates to. So if Saturn had entered into Aquarius by itself, I would expect it to have a negative impact on the price of Bitcoins. But it entered the sign with Jupiter, which has the opposite effect. Jupiter is a jovial and buoyant planet known as the Great Benefic, and tends to boost demand for the underlying asset that sign relates to, one of which was Bitcoins. So you can, in this chart, I've shaded the area in which Jupiter entered the sign of Aquarius. It went into Aquarius initially in December 2020, raced through the sign, and by May it went into Pisces, at which point it entered its annual retrograde period where it appears to move backwards, and re-entered the sign of Aquarius in August, before leaving it one final time in December of 2021. That's interesting that Bitcoin made its all-time highs in the time frame when Jupiter was in the sign of Aquarius. Initially in April 2021, reaching about 65,000, and ultimately in November 2021, where it hit the all-time high of 69,000. And pay attention to the times when Jupiter leaves Aquarius and how that dampening impact of Saturn suddenly pulls Bitcoin prices right back down again. So we're currently in a period where Jupiter won't be returning to Aquarius for another 12 years. There are other signs which may relate to rallies as Jupiter enters them. But in the meantime, where we are today is Saturn is going to be in Aquarius until March 2023. So it's going to have that dampening effect, but the astrology is in line with the cyclical analysis, which is saying a 4-year cycle is due. So let's see if we can fine tune that. Just as a sideway, if you look at the chart of crude oil, and that's the asset that relates to Pisces, which is the sign that Jupiter went into after it left Aquarius, and look at how crude oil has really rallied with the presence of Jupiter in that sign. Right, so going back to Bitcoins, another cycle which I identified and I wanted to share with you guys, I'm using the timing solution software here to identify these cycles. The one I've got here is in pink is Heliocentric Venus. So not from the position of Earth, but from the position of the Sun, the rotation of Venus around the Sun, and the cyclical price action it has on Bitcoins. I've put 4 cycles on here, and you can see that it correlates really well with the price action for Bitcoins. Venus as a planet rules over currencies and stock markets, so it relates very well to cryptos. And you can see that every crest we have forming in the cycle of heliocentric Venus has correlated very well with a crest in the price of Bitcoins, followed by the troughs. So I'm going to use this cycle to fine-tune the time frame in which I believe the 4-year cycle is likely to form. But before I do that, let's see what Bitcoin is going to do over the next few months. There's actually some upside activity that may manifest over the next few months. In this chart, I've identified the crests that the Venus cycle forms, and you can see, looking at the past year, crests were expected in April and November of 2021, and we've seen the all-time highs actually formed in those months. And at the same time, troughs were expected in June, July, and it's interesting, it's always a double bottom, almost like 2 troughs forming. So a double bottom formation was expected in June and July, and in fact both did manifest, and January and February, and again both did manifest in those 2 months as well. So from where we are today in April 2022, we're expecting prices to have a small rally, a short rally into the summer. Late June, early July is when I'm expecting the next crest to form. The price targets are around 48,000. The first price target is around 48,000, give or take 1,500. And then if it surpasses that, the next price target is 53,800. Give or take 1,800 as a norm. So looking at the downside, straight after that, I'm expecting prices to break down very quickly. And this will present the good buying opportunity for long-term investors looking to enter this market. I believe Bitcoin is going to bottom out late August to early October. Again, it's most likely going to be a double bottom formation, and the price targets I have, the first one is $18,000 per Bitcoin, give or take 4.2 thousand, and if it drops below that, it can go as low as $14,000, give or take 4.2 thousand. So I know the orb is quite hot, big for these price targets, but it's going to be very quick, fast, and sharp moves with Bitcoins. So it's a good idea to set some orders in place in case they occur during late night hours of trading. It's a 24-hour market, and a lot of big moves tend to happen during the Chinese trading hours. So it's always good to put some orders in and ensure you manage your stop losses as well. Hope this has been useful to you, and I also hope you can use it to make some money. Take care, and thank you for joining me, Astrology with PZ.